Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. The program will begin in exactly 5 minutes. We'll be right back at exactly 6:05 p.m. So sit back, chill out, because you're in for a very enlightening session. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to What's Next Wednesdays, where we'll be talking about the latest developments in college, business, and technology. I'm Danny, and I'm live all the way from Bacolod City. Before we begin, here are some house rules for tonight's session. This event will be recorded and will be published on our Facebook and YouTube pages. At any time during the event, feel free to type your questions in the chat box for those of you on Zoom or in the comment section for those of you who are watching on our social media pages, so we can go through these with our speaker later. For those of you on Zoom, please remember that your microphone is automatically muted when you enter the room. But if you want to ask questions, please reserve these for our Q&A segment. You can click the raise hand button and our moderator will be the one to unmute you. You can also follow us on our social media pages if you want to get updated and or watch this live at Mapua Malian Digital. All right, so I hope that's clear with everybody. And while you follow our social media accounts, I'd like to introduce our guest for this evening. So he's the guy that heads the team that makes sure our classes here at MMDC are interactive, collaborative, and never boring. Together with the rest of our instructional system design professionals, he ensures that our curriculum meets the standards of the industry so our learners are ready for their careers. Today, he's joined me to discuss the realities of next-gen education for career advancement. So let's give our virtual round of applause for the man of the hour, our director for instructional system design, none other than Mr. Noel Torregoza.
Hi, Danny. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
Hi, Noel. So happy to have you on our live podcast. I know you usually work behind the scenes for our college, and it's really great to have you in the limelight tonight. So before anything else, would it be possible for you to tell our viewers what it is that the Instructional System Design or ISD team does for MMDC?
Sure. So, in a nutshell, what we do is we define the learning outcomes based on industry demands and set regulations. Basically, we itemize exactly what the learners need to pick up from school, right? The important part of our job is to design the learning experiences that will help them develop these outcomes, that will help them get better at the things they need to learn. We then build or put together the materials, the references, the videos, or the articles that will assist the learners or that will be necessary as they go through these experiences to make sure that learning is optimized even in a digital setup.
All right. So to be an ISD team, what I'm getting from what you've said is that you have to be immersed in a good balance of the academic field and in the corporate world. So that's something that you've been doing for quite some time now. And I'm sure you've seen how both environments have changed. So do you think that the typical college model has really reflected these changes over the years?
Right. The answer to that, Danny, is yes and no. And I'll expound now. What makes me kind of happy about how colleges are starting to adjust is that you definitely see a lot more involvement and immersion or attempts to do so with industry. They have a bunch more corporate partnerships. They really are trying to learn more about what goes on in life after college. I think one of the difficulties or one of the challenges that a lot of schools face is that it's hard for them to let go of traditional practices or traditional ways of measuring their success, mostly grades, how many people get certified or how many people pass a licensure exam, stuff like this. These are not necessarily bad, but they're also not necessarily what makes a difference in the lives of the students after they graduate from school. So while there is progress, I think that it's a little bit slow in order for us to really make an impact or really make a difference in the way that college is conducted. I feel there needs to be better coordination between regulatory provisions that are given to schools, commitment of the schools themselves, and of course, flexibility of industry partners to be able to extend more help to colleges and school systems.
Okay, so given that this is how progress has been going on for, let's say, the past couple of decades, do you think that the current structure of college education has also affected the way that graduates adapt to modern demands in the workplace after they graduate?
Yes, absolutely. I think some of the positives are that the traditional values that school instills, like diligence with your submissions, timeliness, and overall just effort that you exert, all of these will always have a place in um, how our graduates will be assessed once they exit school, right? I think some of the negatives is that a lot of them are still stuck in a model where the students are expected to sit down, memorize stuff, and answer tests. A lot of spoon feeding still happens. Unfortunately, industries today demand something different from learners, right? They don't necessarily expect people who will just do as they're told and follow. A lot more often you'll see companies wanting folks who are creative, who can make decisions, who can use data, and who can problem solve. So those I feel can take more of a spotlight when it comes to how education is currently delivered, so that we can help our graduates adapt better to the modern demands.
All right. So, well, given that we have this current college system, MMDC was designed to sort of address this sort of gap between the real world and between college education. So we've come up with a learning model that builds students up in preparation for what's to come once they step into their first jobs, or maybe even continue on to the next part of their careers. So we call this the projects, problems, and cases model. Can you tell us more about this?
Sure. The easiest way to understand PPC or problems, projects, and cases is to, I guess, first talk about what it's not. No,
Mm.
uh, the PPC model at MMDC does not focus on the usual practices of lectures, take down notes, memorize your notes, and answer a test or answer a quiz. Right? Make sure that you pass. Make sure you get more items correct than more item than incorrect items. Um, Also, it may be confusing for some because problems, projects, and cases may exist in a traditional school system. They still have problems there that they need to solve. They also have projects or case studies, right? The key difference with the way that MMDC runs the PPC model is that these projects, they're not necessarily there to be submitted and to be graded, right?
Mhm.
That's not the intention of these projects. Of course, you still get graded, but the main intention is for these problems, projects, and cases to provide the learners with the experience that they need, the opportunities that they need in order for them to develop the targeted skills, thinking, and behaviors that we want to develop. So I guess that's a key difference. It's not just something for submission. It's something that they work with their mentors on all throughout the term.
Mhm. Okay, so it's for our viewers this evening, actually, I feel like some of them might have an impression that the PPC model will require them to study and accomplish these milestones unguided. Like there's nobody there to help them out. There's nobody there that's going to um show them what's wrong or what's right. So is that really how it is? Do our students just do modules and get a grade after handing in their work and it ends there?
No, it is actually quite the opposite. No, and I think to better illustrate my response to this, I'll give you this example. Right, uh, the easiest way to explain how people learn is that people learn by doing. Whatever it is that you keep doing, you learn. Right.
Mhm.
Think about driving, for example. You could have been taught to drive by your tito, your tita, or some other friend,
Mhm.
and then you practice driving on a daily basis. Therefore, you get to become better at driving, quote unquote. However, while you may be able to make the vehicle move forward, backwards, move into a parking spot, all of these things, you may have missed out on some essential lessons or concepts or principles, right? Which is why it's important for you to have guidance as you do the exercises, as you do the tasks, as you perform the lesson that you're trying to learn. Um, when it comes to PPC at MMDC, while in theory, a person can take on the tasks, access the materials at their own pace without ever talking to their mentor. They're actually not optimizing or not making the most out of that opportunity to learn. The mentors are there so that they can guide you and help you figure out what you're doing well, what you can do better on, and what the next steps are in order for you to optimize or make the most out of your learning experience. Does
So,
that answer your question?
yeah, it definitely answers my question. And I feel like I do know that there are some attendees here that are actually students of MMDC. So, why is it so important that students learn through projects, problems, and cases instead of the traditional way of learning? So, how does revision aid the students?
Right. Revision is everything. Iteration is everything when it comes to the PPC model. Think about it this way. If you're given an assignment and you work on that assignment, and then you submit it, you get graded. You didn't really learn a lot from that experience. What you're learning, quote unquote, or what you're realizing is how good you are at the current moment because you did something to the best of your abilities and you got a score for it. What didn't happen is the opportunity for you to try again, right? So at MMDC, that is really what we try to highlight. We try to focus or we try to emphasize the number of times that a learner can attempt a task,
Mm,
attempt to demonstrate a particular skill, show their mentors how they performed it, have their mentors provide feedback and guidance so that they can try it again.
mhm,
If you keep doing that, that really speeds up, that really expedites your skill development. So
mhm.
that is really what we try to focus on.
Yeah. So with that skill development, I know that our students have both synchronous and asynchronous class sessions, right? So over the course of the pandemic, there is actually a stigma that I sort of got from students that I dealt with and students that I know of in my own circles that online classes were tiring and boring. But I've really attended our classes here at MMDC, and I've seen that students are trying to be really collaborative and expressive, giving their opinions by unmuting themselves and even sending in answers in the chat boxes. So, why do you think the online learning experience is different here in our college?
Right. Well, I think the reason why it feels different is because of how relevant and specific the interactions are, right? What typically happens in a general traditional classroom setup is your teacher provides a lecture that's meant to address the entire class. However, if you think about that class and you can think about yourself when you were a student, I'm thinking about myself when I was a student back then.
Yeah.
There may be people in that class who are interested. There may be people who are kind of interested. There may be people who are thinking about where to go once school is done. So not everybody is interested or in the right frame of mind to listen to that blanket lecture, right?
Yeah.
A good way to think about it is to think about the last time that you checked your phone's manual or you check the instructions on how to use your phone. Most
Mhm.
of us, right, when we buy a phone, we unbox it, we open the phone, we start using it.
Yeah.
We never read the instructions. There are specific moments, though, that would require us to look at instructions or look for help. What are those instances, right? It's when things go wrong.
Mhm.
It's when we want to do something with our phone and it doesn't quite react the way that we want it to.
Mhm.
That is the time that we go online, look for instructions on how to perform that particular task. And in a lot of ways, that is similar to how receptive we are to information,
Mhm.
right? You wouldn't want to spend time reading the entire manual before you start using your phone.
Mhm.
It's the same thing with lectures. You may be sitting down in front of the professor giving a lecture. It may be boring, it could be exciting, but
Mhm.
there's no guarantee that you need that information at that particular moment.
Mhm.
With PPC and with MMDC, the reason why it's so interactive is that The synchronous sessions are not there for us to just give you information that you may not need. The synchronous sessions are there so that students can ask questions that are highly relevant to what they need, highly related to the problems they're experiencing. Um, Therefore, the interactions and the engagement is a lot better. The teacher is talking about something that I need at this particular moment, so I'm ready to engage and interact.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like looking back at my college life, that does reflect a lot. I mean, I don't know about you if you were a diligent student, but I definitely wasn't. Let's leave it at that. So, yeah, I do get that. And that's what actually made me appreciate the PPC model all the more, because you can outright look for information that you're actually seeking. It's like picking up a good book when you want to read it and not because you're forced to do it for English class, right? So,
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, so I do relate and I do see the value in that. But all right, Noel will be back in a few minutes to discuss more about next gen education and how it fits into our digital first college. So first we'd like to highlight another feature of studying at MMDC, and those are the perks that come from being with our student affairs team. So we'd love to show our viewers that socialization, student wellness and fun are promoted here in our college. So let's watch this.
Does your life as an online learner look awfully something like this? All study and no fun makes one a dull one. Escape boredom and burnout while learning a lot and so much more. You don't have to worry about juggling work and school. The balance in academic excellence, work, and fun is now made accessible at your fingertips. Join us as we walk you through the fun part of digital learning as we put the cool in digital school. Here at MMDC, a whole lot of fun awaits you. Activities, opportunities to meet new people, and avenues to showcase your passion, talents, and skills aplenty. Digital, I dig it all. Say goodbye to dozing off during boring and stuffy webinars, and say hello to fun and interactive e-events lined up for you. Brace yourselves for quirky challenges that you will experience with your friends and clubmates. We introduce to you our virtual escape rooms. Hunt for clues, solve mysteries, and then some. Digital, I dig it all. Need time off from your computer to stretch a little? We've got that covered too. We have wellness activities to make sure that you stay fit and healthy even with the digital setup. Digital, I dig it all. Digital learning is said to be lonely learning, but fret not, lonely no more. Here at MMDC, you'll never be or feel alone. Go join a club or create one yourself. Share and express your passion, talents, and skills. Digital, I dig it all. From clubs that will help you further improve your communication and social skills, to the ones that place focus on technical skills that will help you solve real-world cases that you will work on, or even a club that simply unleashes you in the we as we grow together as a nurturing and fun, dynamic academic community. Digital, I dig it all. Finally, get a chance to be featured in our school publication. Share about activities, events, and even your own stories in our digital community. Or be part of the proactive school publications team and get to write articles. Together, we'll deliver news and updates and more to our community. The MMDC community. Digital, I dig it all. We've talked digital. But what about face-to-face? MMDC proudly welcomes you to our Learning Hub. Experience firsthand and in person our state-of-the-art facilities that are both conducive for learning and collaboration friendly. Here, you not only solve problems, projects, and cases, but also build and create connections, collaborations, and ideas while having fun. It's all in at the Hub, only at the Learning Hub. The entire digital setup might be intimidating, but worry not. The IA or Integrated Advising Services are here to assist you for anything and everything. Got any questions or queries? We're here to answer you or direct you to the right persons. Got concerns? We're all ears. Troubleshooting? Consider it done. We're just one message away. Sounds exciting? We're excited for you too. We can't wait to be part of your college journey. See you virtually and in our learning hubs.
All right, and there you have it. A fun and collaborative experience that's sure to give our students a breather from their usual school life awaits the learners here at MMDC. It will always be a balance of extracurricular activities and academic rigor here in our digital first college. So we're really hoping to grow our community. But speaking of academic rigor, we're still live with our ISD director, Noel. So, Noel, earlier we were talking about how MMDC is different from other colleges in terms of the learning model that we use. So, why is there a need to shift to learning through projects, problems, and cases, as opposed to quizzes, exams, and rote memorization that we used to have back when we were in college?
Right. The quickest way to answer that is, I guess, it's just that problems, projects, and cases approximates what happens in the real world much better than doing quizzes, exams, and memorizing stuff, right? I challenge you and even the viewers that we have with us tonight to ask somebody that they know who's successful at whatever job it is that they're doing, how much of what they're doing now is reliant on the stuff that they did in college. The typical answer is not very much, right?
Yeah.
And the reason behind that is that in the real world, you don't really do a lot of sitting down, listening to people, memorizing stuff. You definitely don't spend a lot of time writing down notes. And truth be told, I don't know a lot of people who even took the time to go back to those notes and reread them after they've taken them down, right? So in a PPC environment, you do what it is that you are expected to perform later on once you exit school. So imagine instead of practicing how to sit down and memorize, you're practicing how to produce, create, problem solve, troubleshoot, and that's what you do for 4 years before you start working. That is why I think that this shift is absolutely necessary.
All right, so MMDC specializes in technology and business, right? So given that these are really in demand with the changes that are taking place in the different industries also, how do you think the PPC model builds students up in preparation for what's to come in their careers?
Right. The secret to this is that we really listen to what industry demands. Before we start creating and drafting our content, be it a GE course or a major course for the specializations, we try to talk to industry practitioners, people who actually succeeded in those fields, and ask them what it takes for a person to do well in that environment. What kind of capabilities will be required of that person, even values and behaviors. What kind of values and behaviors and attitudes do we need to develop in order for that person to not only get a job, but progress in their careers in that field. And we try to make sure that the learning experiences we design take into account all of these different competencies so that our students, as early as their first year, begin practicing and developing and honing these abilities.
Okay, so very much like how we have mentors in our work or in our careers, our students also have to prepare for life after college, and they have to understand that our teachers aren't the typical lecturers, right? But might be a change that could take a while to be fully absorbed, especially if you're used to, sorry for the term, being spoon-fed with all of the information available to you through a book or through, let's say, a PowerPoint presentation that your teacher might have. So what advice can you give to students that are trying to adjust to our digital first model?
Right. I'll get to the advice in a few. I just want to quickly comment on teachers not being lecturers and all of this, right? I want people to, I guess, better appreciate why we needed to change the role of the teacher. Back in the day before the internet, which I don't know if you guys remember, I do, sort of. Before the internet, right, there's a reason for teachers to provide those lectures and give those discussions. That is the reason why you went to school, because school is where the books are. School is where your teachers are, people who know things that you don't know. What the internet has done is it has practically made information ubiquitous, available to everybody, right? What matters now is not what you know, but what you can do with what you know. Therefore, our teachers, in order for them to have real value to the learners, they can't just be people who give you information, right? We need to change their roles to that of mentors. That's why we call them mentors at MMDC. For our students, the advice that I can give to you is be open to making mistakes. I know in the past, and this might be weird to hear coming from somebody in the academe, right? But mistakes are not to be avoided. At MMDC, we try to make sure that we create an environment where you feel it's safe for you to fail, not fail your grades, but fail in terms of making a mistakes, right? Instead, in terms of making mistakes. By making these mistakes, you're allowing the mentor to identify what needs you have and therefore help you at the level that you need. So be open to making mistakes. Welcome mistakes, welcome failure. That is how you're going to learn.
All right. That's actually really good advice, Noel. And I feel like, especially now that students still have this hesitation when it comes to redoing their work, it's really helpful to remind them that it's okay to make mistakes, and in the real world it's something that's bound to happen, and you're not going to be reprimanded for that fully. Your mentors, your bosses are going to ask you to redo your work. They're going to give you advice on which areas you can improve on, right? So, given that here at MMDC, we can start to train our students with that mindset that there are people that are always open to guiding you as you build your career. Do you think that mentors play a significant role in how our learners are being trained?
Absolutely. In truth, mentors at MMDC, their task is so much harder than that of other teachers, right? Because when you're a teacher, there comes a point where you've almost memorized your lecture, right? You've memorized when to tell the jokes. You've memorized what goes first, what comes next, how to end your discussion. And every year, regardless of who your students are, it's the same lecture that you deliver. The mentors at MMDC, their job is so hard. They need to take a look at what the learners are currently doing. They need to identify why they're doing well or why they're not doing so well. And based on that need, they need to talk to them and figure out how they can help. After that, they need to plan with the student how to move forward to make sure that they progress. So that is the role of your mentor here. It is so important, it is so critical in making sure that you're making the right decisions, that you're pushing through even when it's hard, and that you're getting the guidance and help that you need.
Yeah, definitely. And we were mentioning earlier that our students also have asynchronous sessions, right? That they can use to meet their teachers outside of the synchronous sessions where they're supposed to be managing the knowledge that they've gotten in or that they've processed in their systems and up to that point. So how do you think students can fully maximize the synchronous classes and the mentoring sessions in line with their milestones?
Okay. A couple of things. First one I would say would be to be present so that you can ask questions. I get asked a lot, can I just watch the recording? Can I just listen into the recorded sessions? Sure, you can, but you're missing out on the opportunity to ask a question that you need to ask. Your classmates may ask questions specific to their needs, specific to the stuff they don't understand, or the stuff that they need help on. You're lucky if they're similar to the ones that you would want to find out about. But if you weren't there to ask a question, there's no guarantee that you would be helped at the level that you need to be helped, right? So that's a one, right? Be present, try to ask as many questions as you can, make your mentor help you, help your mentor help you, right? The second tip that I think I can give them to maximize synchronous and mentoring sessions would be to schedule your coaching sessions, schedule your mentoring sessions, even if you're not making progress, or especially if you're not making progress on your milestones. Understandably, a lot of us have hesitations, to talk to our teacher if we feel that our output is not good.
Mm-hmm.
And in truth, sometimes you don't even have an output to show the teacher because you found it so hard to either manage your time, or if you're writing something, I bet you guys can relate to this. Sometimes when you have to write paragraphs or you have to tell a story, you encounter writer's block and you can't even get started. In those instances, book a coaching session with your mentor, right? Don't worry about your mentor getting mad at you. That's not what the mentoring sessions are for. That's not what the coaching sessions are for. Even if you have nothing, you have zero, that's the time to talk to your coach and tell them your situation, right?
Mhm.
Is your home not necessarily conducive to you writing? Are you worrying about so many other things? You don't know how to balance your work with your studies. I don't know, whatever the reason is, whether you feel that your work is not good enough or you don't even have any work to show your mentor,
Mhm.
go and ask for help. Go to your mentors. It's okay. They're there to help you.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to say that so far I've been hearing good feedback from our students about the mentors, and especially about their availability even at the oddest hours of the night. And we've had mentors replying to students, and I feel like the students are also starting to appreciate that more, that whenever they need help, it's literally just a chat or a message away. But if you were an MMDC student, seeing as the PPC model is different, seeing as you'd have to step up and build your confidence to actually approach your mentors, how would you mentally and emotionally prepare yourself for the shift in learning styles that takes place?
I would say that, and again, this might be weird, but off the cuff, I would say be open to saying I don't know or I can't. Um, I think that understanding our limitations and understanding what we can't do, being critical of our own outputs, will really help us open up to feedback, open up to help, open up to criticism.
Mhm.
That's why we're in school, right? We're trying to find out what we can do better so that we can prepare for something bigger. Remember that, you're not studying school to be good in school.
Mhm.
You're not in school so that you can be great at the game of school. You're in school because you're preparing for something bigger and better for you. And that is what our jobs are. Danny, myself, the rest of the MMDC team, our job is to make sure that we can help you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve after school is done. You invested in us, so make the most out of it by being critical of yourself as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I do agree with that. And I think it also comes with being emotionally and mentally present as well in
True.
all of your classes. I think beyond just sitting in front of your desk listening to whatever lecture or whatever discussion is taking place in class, it's really important that your focus is on actually learning, right? On actually building yourself up as an individual, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to define how far you go in terms of college, in terms of your career. So being prepared for that, building up your skills will really help with that. But there's a really big question that a lot of our students want to know, Noel. So you're the director for instructional system design. And I feel like this is a question that could be best answered from your perspective. So, how do you feel students can succeed through the PPC model being used in MMDC?
How can students succeed? um, huh. Funnily enough, I would say the way to succeed at MMDC is to fail as much as you can, right?
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh, think about any skill that you currently have, right? Be it cooking, sports, um, I don't know, knitting, arts and crafts, whatever. Think about whatever skill you currently have. Um, and think back on when you started performing it, when you started doing it. Chances are you weren't very good,
Mm-hmm.
but because you believed that you can do it or that you had the passion for it, right? You disregarded all the difficulties and all of the failures and you just kept trying. You would
Mm-hmm.
fail, would make many mistakes. When you try to learn the guitar, you wouldn't sound so good.
Mm-hmm.
Your your family will get mad at you for making a lot of noise, not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of music. Um, but you just kept at it.
Mm-hmm.
And being open to failing, being open to making mistakes, that's really how you learn. In the PPC model, most especially, that is what's important. In truth, you can't fail at MMDC if you never stop trying because you're always given the opportunity to iterate and redo things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So long as you're asking for help, uh, trying to the best of your abilities, not being scared of feedback, um, always attempting to be better, you will improve and you will succeed. Not just in MMDC, but again, after MMDC is over and done with, hopefully that translates to your success in the workplace too.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like everything that you've just said, accepting failure, working through your own, let's say, inhibitions when it comes to reaching out to other people, may it be peers, mentors, even the integrated advisors. I think it's all gonna help build our students up, right? With the PPC model. And it's also because it's not just about teaching them the skills that they need in terms of business and tech. It's also about developing their soft skills too. And it's holistic formation
Mhm.
that you wouldn't necessarily get if you just passed in all of your papers, passed your papers to the front, not listening to any feedback your teacher might have unless your teacher outright reaches out to you, lets you know that this is where you're doing wrong. I think you can revise this. So that's really great insight, Noel. And I'm really glad that you were able to enlighten our students and our applicants, actually, all of our viewers, regarding the PPC model and what it's really like to be at MMDC. And I think that's all of the time we have for this episode. So thank you again, Noel, for gracing us with your time and wisdom. And we're confident that our viewers have been able to get much insight from our discussion, and hopefully it inspires them to do much more with their studies here at MMDC. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Happy to be here.
And thank you everyone also for tuning into What's Next Wednesdays, MMDC's official live podcast. So seeing as this will be our last stream for the year, the MMDC team would also like to take this time to thank everybody that's joined us on this journey of digital first education this 2022. Big things are definitely ahead for our college, and we look forward to growing our community in 2023 as well. So if you have any questions regarding admissions, please send us an email at admissions@mmdc.mcl.edu.ph or visit www.mmdc.mcl.edu.ph for more information. So we don't have any questions, and with that, thank you again everybody for joining us this afternoon, and see you next year. Till our next Wednesday.